How much do relationships affect your health?
Today, we talked to Maren and Simon Mittal, couples coaches who help couples build relationships they are happy to be in, and how this impacts health and weight.
As a health coach and a wellness coach, we ask the questions so you get the answers. Let's get started as we ask.
Wait, what?
Part 2.
When people work with us, we create a communication structure. We are trained in safe conversations. And basically, as we facilitate and as we encourage people to use sentence starters that eliminate blame, eliminate criticism, and encourage people to share, I'm experiencing this. This is how we can work on it together. We're creating boundaries and safety for the couple because as time goes on, more and more bickering, the safety, the trust goes down. So working with us, we're creating the safe container and people start then hearing each other. They start seeing the other person's perspective in a way where safety and trust gets built up.
And so an example, I think this is probably one of our first couples that we did this with. We actually did as a group. And when we went through it, one of the couples was really struggling. I mean, to the point they didn't know if they were going to be together. And as we worked through this, and this has been, I don't know how long ago now, it's been probably 7 years, I think, 6 years probably. And they are now in a place that they feel like they've got the best relationship they never thought was possible. And I think that's an example. They were willing, they wanted something to change. He had been in multiple relationships. She had a tough background, and they were trying to sort of navigate that. And as we brought these skills together, they had a language and a platform to build safety and trust that then allowed them to actually have much more real conversations. And they actually learned about each other. They actually discovered more about each other, and that depth of knowledge really then grew into a place where they could say, "This is really amazing. This is really what I want." And
What did you call them? Sentence starters?
Sentence starters?
Safe
Yeah,
sentence starters?
yeah, yeah.
Would an
Yeah.
example be of that?
Yeah, an example is, this is one of our favorite ones. When I experience, and then you fill in the blank, I feel, only using feeling words, and it reminds me of. So we're highlighting the fact that there's some past that's coming in. So for example, I might say, when I experience you yelling at me, I feel afraid and uncertain. And it reminds me of growing up with my dad.
You have like X-ray vision there. What's going on?
Deep.
Yeah. But it's owning it ourselves and then sharing it in a way where you're not pointing the finger at the other person. You're giving them that insight on, I'm really struggling because this is touching on some pain from my past.
Okay, so but when you have a sentence like that, because I've done some therapy, and what happens then immediately is you get defensive. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not yelling. I'm not
Absolutely.
talking like that.
Yeah.
How do you address that?
So I think part of it is, again, how solid are you with you? Like, Maren was talking about these internal boundaries. So there's a couple of different ways of responding. One is to say, I want you to know I'm sharing my experience with you out of my own sense of self. I'm not here to blame or criticize. I'm just sharing what I feel, my experience of that. That would be one
It's
way.
keeping owning.
Yeah.
This is my experience. Recently, we just put a phrase, relationships are not cause and effect. A lot of our language is, you make me feel, you caused me to get angry. No, we say, no, that's never it. It's not cause and effect. When I experience the situation, when I experience yelling, I feel this. So it's owning my experience.
I don't mean to nitpick, but how is when I experience you yelling at me, is that no,
not you yelling. That's pointing the finger.
Okay.
When I experience yelling.
Being yelled at.
Oh, okay.
Or being yelled at. When I experience, so it's not you. It's only I. I experience. When I experience, I feel.
So, I mean, another example is, say you're in the middle of you're kind of getting to that point where you can see the explosion coming. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I think we all have experienced that,
Mhm.
right? So when you start to notice it, even to say, wow, I'm really experiencing a lot of anxiety about what's going to happen next. And It really reminds me of times when I've been involved in other conversations and it felt really scary for me, or I felt really rejected, or I felt really frustrated, or
Okay, even if it's
really-
about that same person you're talking about,
even if it's the same person,
you
but you're
don't
not going to
blame it.
name. Yeah, you're not
Okay.
going to name. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the challenge, right? I mean, Lee, I
Right.
think that's one of the bigger challenges. Is we love judgment. We love judging people. And we're
Right.
trying to say, let's stop that. How do we take that language away and replace it? Because you can't just say don't judge. You
Mhm.
actually have to replace it with something that is actually actionable. And I think what's actionable is to say, I'm owning the experience.
You know, another example that's coming to my mind, Kamna, as you're saying, let's get nitpicky, is you could say, when I sense this energy shift,
Okay.
just that, I'm sensing an energy shift. My system's getting activated. I mean, I say that to Simon, like, wow, my nervous system feels really activated right now. I
And-
need to do something to care for myself.
And what if that person's like, yeah, that's all on you. You're the
Yep,
one who
that's
feels
what I was
that.
going to say.
Then what do I, because I am taking ownership. I'm saying like, I feel I can feel myself getting worked up. And then someone's like, well, that's on you. What's
It
the
is.
response then?
Yeah. Then it comes to a new set of skills, repair.
Yeah.
How do you build that bridge to say, we tend to use the sentence stem of one way we could address this together is, so it might be one way we could address this together is waiting till we're both calm and each bringing a solution.
Or another option might be even simpler to say, you know, what would really help right now is if I could just hold your hand and we can just sit here and be quiet for a few minutes until we're ready to talk.
Hmm.
So something simple sometimes can be really, really helpful. Now, again, I think if you're in a relationship where the other person is consistently defensive or consistently in that place of pushing back, that's a different set of rules, right? That's a different set of skill sets to navigate. Because then the question really becomes, what's the value for each person of the relationship? What's the value?
There's an overarching principle. When our nervous system gets fight, flight, or freeze, that activation, safe connection is the solution, safe connection. So if we can do that with our partner, awesome. Sometimes we can't. If we can do that with ourselves or with our higher power or with our pets, whatever that safe connection can look like in that moment is the thing to try.
Safe connections.
I
I
think
kind of want to do a little role play. I don't know.
sure.
What would work.
We'll love to. We love role
Are
play.
you putting me on the spot here? Okay.
Me and you. Let's do.
Okay.
Is that okay? And then they can interject. Is that all right?
I
That's great.
think. I don't
Leah,
know.
you're
Just go for it.
Leah's like,
We didn't talk about this. That's why.
Not at all, but go on.
Leah, you know what? You are not doing your work, and I don't understand why you're always putting extra work on me, and you're just not showing up. And I can't figure out how to fix you.
that's good.
You respond to me.
Well, I've tried many times to ask what you would need help with, and I'm getting nowhere in response. You're like, nothing. I'm fine.
Okay.
All right, we'll start there. I love that. That's great. So I think the first thing we would say is, okay, let's change the conversation, because my oftentimes when I hear this kind of conversation, I'll say something like, "So how many times have you had this conversation and you haven't gotten anywhere?" And oftentimes people will say it's a lot of times. So I've had this same conversation.
Okay.
So in this case, you may or may not have. So, but where would we start? Yeah, like
So, Kamna, I'm going to ask you to approach Leah differently and only use I statements.
Well, it's difficult because it's not a real situation. I'm going to try. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel frustrated.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it without saying you.
When I experience.
I feel frustrated when I experience that I'm alone.
Yeah.
oh, there you go.
Whoa,
Perfect.
Yeah.
you're good.
That's
Yeah.
good.
And Leah, what we're going to invite you to do is reflect that back to Kamna.
Well, I would immediately say, well, why do you feel alone?
Right. And we're saying we want to change that. Right.
Okay.
Not
Very-
asking questions.
Yeah, this is not
Oh.
asking questions.
So reflect back to Kamna. What did you hear her say?
What did I hear her say? I heard her say that she feels alone.
And what else? What is she What does she feel when she senses that she's alone? She named a feeling.
I don't remember. Afraid? I feel like my husband right now.
See, this is part of what we teach people is how do we listen and not let our questions get in the way of listening?
All I heard her
Okay.
say is alone. That's it. If I'm
Yeah.
being completely
Yeah.
honest with you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
don't even think I heard her say anything else except she feels alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. And I'm going to be a little pointed here, Leah.
That's fine. Yeah.
But how much of when calmness started talking were you already formulating a question?
Probably immediately. That's what
Right.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. But when we formulate questions, our brain is not able to listen actively and formulate a question at the same time. It is impossible for our brains to do that structurally. The way our brains are actually wired, it is impossible to do both at the same time. And so that's the piece that we teach people to do is we know you have a question, but we have to put that aside and be in this active listening space so that we can reflect. Because
Mm.
again, if people want to feel seen, heard, and valued, if we can't reflect back, then we're not actually seeing that person.
And if I'm being really honest, I know I said I'm alone. I don't remember what I said before that.
Yeah. And
Is
that's
if I'm
and
being really honest.
I think you said frustrated.
yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you said
They're
something
good
like,
listeners. I'm not.
Wow.
yeah. So I'll reflect it back. Kamna, what I'm hearing you say is you feel frustrated when you experience being alone. And then I'm going to check in. Did I get it?
Yes.
Yeah. And is there more? Is there more you want to share about that?
I'll just make something up. Okay. I feel abandoned because I feel like people just don't show up in my life and I can't count on anyone. And it's just the story of my life.
So, Leah, how would you reflect that back?
I just want to ask a question
I know you do, Leah. I know.
so badly.
We know that. We know that.
And
So badly.
I know.
I had like 15 questions immediately from her saying that. I really want, I also want to say is like, I'm sorry that you feel like you're abandoned and all,
Yeah.
but I don't
Yeah.
want to say that, right?
No. I mean,
You can notice
You can-
and name that.
right.
Yeah.
However, to really have Kamna build that connection with you and that safety, it's you're reflecting back to say, I see you. I'm trying to get your perspective. Getting each other's perspective is more important than getting information, getting all the right answers to your questions.
And here's what we have found in that process. If we can put the questions aside temporarily, and we actually go through that process of listening and reflecting, we actually get either we get our questions answered, or the questions don't have any meaning anymore. So one of those two things almost always happens when we're in that. And it's a really interesting phenomenon because I know, looking at you, Leah, I'm sure you're thinking, there is no way I'm going to get all my questions answered. There is no
Well,
way I'm going to.
my immediately, you're not wrong at all. I have 1,000. But my thing is like, so would I say, I hear you, I hear that you feel abandoned. And then leave it at that?
Well, you're trying to reflect as much as you can remember. And then, is there more you want to share? Is there more?
Just keep saying that?
Yep.
Yeah, keep saying it. And it's interesting when we go through this back and forth, it feels like it takes a lot of time initially. But I can tell you, as Maren and I have done this over the years, it goes actually relatively quickly because it becomes a normal part of the interaction rather than an abnormal part. And so as we do this, we discover so much more about each other. I remember when we first started doing this, I was like, wow, I'm learning all about these connections and how Lauren thinks, and she's learning about the things that I'm thinking and how they're connected. And it really gives a new level of not only validation, but empathy for each other. And really, if we look at the string we're trying to sort of go down, it's how do I hear? But then how do I validate that experience for the other person, not my own experience? And I'm not here to say I agree or disagree. I'm just validating. So
Mhm.
if I was Kamna, I would say, so what I'm really hearing is that if I kind of summarize everything you've said so far, you have a lot of feelings of frustrations when things aren't getting done and you feel alone. And then it starts to feel like you're being abandoned because your story in your life has been that nobody has done that and nobody's been there for you. And then I'll check in. Did I get that? Is there anything more you'd like to add to that or share?
No,
And then
it's
you
all
have
made
the
up.
yeah, right. No, but
And then
that's
what?
and then okay, so now I've validated. So I'll even say, is that a good validation?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I'll say something like this. So I can imagine not only are you feeling alone, not only do you feel abandoned and frustrated, but you feel sad and you feel like there's more going on and you might even feel overwhelmed because you're doing all this work. And then I'll check in again. Is that what you're feeling? And are you feeling
Yeah.
anything else? And so
Yeah.
then you kind of go back and forth in the conversation. So by the end, the connection is based on empathy, not based on facts. And empathy is the connector. And so, even going back to eating and health and all those things, when we can't be empathetic, we're much more unhealthy, not only psychosocially, but physically. And there's actually some good studies out there that show that people who are empathetic tend to have much healthier lives.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm,
So,
hmm.
so that's how it all gets connected, right? So then we start to click
So
together.
so this is how it's different than therapy, is that you're actually working through people's communication, I guess?
Communication and teaching the skills in real time. Let's try it this other way. What if what if you imagine this type of connection versus chaos or, opposition, conflict? So we're creating imagery, we're creating possibility based on a different skill set.
And
Hmm.
I think beyond communication, it's how do you build trust? How do you repair when things aren't, somebody feels hurt or offended? How do you be vulnerable in relationship? And what degree of vulnerability for what relationship makes sense?
Mhm.
Because it's not all the same. And so those are the kinds of skill sets that can really be helpful in helping
Wow.
people see what the possibilities are. And I think it's interesting, I'm just kind of pondering. We think agreement is the same as relationship, and that actually isn't. If I agree with Maren or not agree with Maren doesn't change the dynamic of my relationship. But what does change is when we have empathy for each other, when I can
Oh.
see different perspectives. That actually is much, much more powerful in intimacy and relationship.
Can you practice this without your partner knowing that you're doing it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good, Sharon.
I'll share the example. We were teaching our kids some of these skills, talking about it. Like we did this new training and we talked about reflecting back. And our daughter, she was, in her 20s, our daughter was like, I hate it when people parrot back to me what I just shared. It's so demeaning. She was like
Okay.
total pushback. And I was like, let me see if I've got it. You really hate feeling like people are parroting back to you. So I was like doing it, even though she's saying she hated it, she started crying
Mhm.
because she felt so seen. So that is a skill that you can reflect back. You can validate saying, wow, yeah, your perspective makes sense. Or I can imagine you might be feeling. All three of those things you can do in any relationship at any time.
Absolutely.
So funny
Wow.
because I read something, I don't know, probably on a TikTok or something. Like one of I have teenagers. It's like you first always validate how they're
Mhm.
feeling. Don't yell at them first. Don't disagree with them first. Just validate it. And it's like everything you're saying is now like clicking in my
Mhm.
head about why to. Because I've talked to people before and they just go, yeah, okay. And they brush over it. And it's like, they're
Right.
not validating how I feel about that.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know,
That's right. That's right.
they're listening to me, but they're not listening to me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Their brain's already moved on.
Yeah.
I want to
Mhm.
highlight something that we think is really important, repair. We've talked about that a few times already, that, talking together. But let's say we did just skip by. Somebody's sharing something with me and I just skipped over it and I moved on. And then I caught myself after the fact, like, man, I didn't validate. I just totally dismissed what they were telling me.
Right.
I can circle back. And what we do is we ask for a redo. So I'd say something like,
Mhm.
you were trying to tell me your experience at school today, and I totally just jumped over it. I wasn't listening. Can we have a redo? I want to go back and really hear you. And because what you were feeling at school, what you experienced at school, that's really important. And I want to say that makes sense. So can we do it again? And
That's
you
very
literally
powerful.
just start, the conversation over.
Well, and I can imagine even just hearing that. I know I feel like, wow, that's powerful. I
Yeah.
feel and how often do people do something like that? It's very rare. So when we experience it, it is a very powerful connector. Very, very powerful connector.
This is so fascinating. I love that you
Eh,
indulged me in the role play.
I
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
it's very
That's a good one.
scary.
That was really good. Yeah. That's really
I
and
So
scared Leah, I'm
scary.
sorry.
and just so you know, we do that with couples. We will either role play or they'll bring an active situation forward, and we'll sit with them and we'll say, okay, let's walk through this step by. I mean, part of the process is to slow everything down for a little bit, just to say, okay, ask what are you going to say next?
Right.
What's the and the questions that come up, put those aside, right? So we're always kind of coaching people in the midst of it, saying,
Mhm.
"Yep, we know you have questions. Put those aside right now. We know you might even have some judgments about what's going on. You need to put those aside, right?" And so that's part of the what I find really rewarding, I think, is when we go through that process, slow people down, and they start to see these connection points, and they feel really different at the end of it.
Yeah.
I know we're coming
Wow.
up on time, but I have one last question for you. I don't know if Leah has any more, but I really want you guys came to couples coaching.
Mhm. Well, it started back when we were students. So that was a long time ago. That was in the early 90s. I was in graduate school for social work, and Simon was doing a medical school rotation with a family practice physician who is also a therapist. So
Okay.
for a whole month, Simon hung out with this physician slash therapist and realized like 70% of what people come in for to see the doctor is actually more psychological and about their emotional health. And in that month, we're like, we want to do this together someday. Well, then life kept going on and he had a whole bunch of more rotations. And, I graduated, I started working in the medical field and then we had kids and family and, life was super chaotic. And now that we've launched our kids, we're like, we still want to do this. We want to bring both of our expertise and really what we're passionate about and then our own journey, just like working through our own relationship and saying we're bringing our best skills and offering that to other people because we're so hopeful about it.
And I would just add to that. I mean, we've had our big challenges, a lot of challenges in our relationship. And as we've kind of grown to the point of understanding these skills, boy, if I'd known those skills 20 years ago, our relationship would be even better than it is. And we have a great relationship now because of the skills we've learned and we
Wow.
implement. In fact, I would say, and Marin's heard me say this, is we're in the best relationship of our lives, and it's better than I ever thought it was going to be.
But have you guys in the past had scream out fights?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That makes me
And
feel
and that and we've had
We're
some.
not perfect.
We're definitely not. I mean, we've had places where, like, even in public places, where Martin left with the kids because I was yelling so loud. Just as an example. So yes, we've had those kinds of disruptions. We've had things in our relationship that have really hurt each other.
Yeah.
And so, how do you overcome that? How do you build trust again in those
Right.
situations? Can be really, really difficult. And so that's why there are great skills to learn. And do you want to learn? Do you want to change? Do you want a relationship that's better than it is right now? Do you want something that you don't think is possible today to be possible tomorrow? Those are really, really important questions to ask. We've worked with some couples. In fact, one couple we worked with, it was their quote last ditch effort before they decide to get divorced.
Mhm.
And did they do 2 sessions, 1 session? I can't remember.
I don't remember who you're talking.
1 or 2 sessions. And they said, yeah, we're done. We've checked the box that we tried and we're going to go get a divorce now. Well, that's different than being motivated to actually change, to actually do something about it. So we're not going to, if you've already made the decision, you're going to be separated, whether it's your parent, your kid, your spouse, whoever it might be, then this is probably not for you. If you're in
Right.
a place where you're saying, I want to know if there's something I can do, we can do to make this better than it is. Hey, we can help you with that.
Have
But
you ever done whole families? who have trouble communicating?
No, we haven't.
You've done some parent-child, right?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, more adult child, parent, adult child. I've done some facilitating of the conversations that way. I would say, as we're wrapping up, one question for our audience to think about is, what do you want with your partner? Or what do you want, in the relationship that you've been thinking about as you've listened to this, this talking together?
Yeah.
What do you want with that person? Not from them, not to them. What do you want with them?
That's a good question. Okay.
That's a great question.
Do you guys
especially
see
to
people
end
through
on.
Zoom?
Yes.
Okay. I was curious how
Yes.
that worked. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So fascinating.
This has been really interesting. Thank you so much for taking time out to
Thank
talk to
you.
us and indulging us in
Absolutely.
all of our questions. I'm sure we could ask
Absolutely.
100 more.
I have more, but yeah, we'll have to have you back on or something. Yes.
If there's an opportunity, we'd love to come back and help and maybe go through some of those questions again. So
Oh,
we'd
for
love to
sure.
do that. We would love
Yeah,
that.
that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
You guys, this is great. This has been wonderful. I love what you guys are doing and how you're connecting these pieces to your overall health and how it
Yeah.
impacts eating and all of those. We love that. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the information provided is meant for education and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your physician before making any changes.
If you liked this episode, please give us a 5-star review. Also, share this episode with someone who you think would enjoy it. If you have topics you want us to investigate, please message us. Thanks.